it's, I would say it's a little more complex than the argument from design, the teleological argument. So I don't want to just try to skip through it. So I'll give you a break. There'll be two parts probably, and we'll go for maybe 30 minutes and we'll stop and go again. And I already gave you a couple of these statements in my review. The cosmological arguments for God's existence through creation, the cosmos, the universe, same thing, all life. That's the argument. We're arguing, we look at creation, and we're given some arguments why we believe there's a God. Geisler states, Norman Geisler is the founder of the seminary, Southern Evangelical Seminary, and he's got so many books, and he was a philosopher and a theologian, just brilliant. He wrote the book. Some of you guys may have read it. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. He and Frank Turk wrote that book. Yeah. But he's the one who founded the seminary many years ago. But again, the basic idea of this argument, the cosmological argument, is that since there is a universe, it must have been caused by something beyond itself. Earlier, even in the review, I was talking about the principles of causality a little bit. There's a cause behind stuff. Okay, so here we have a universe. It must have been caused by something beyond itself. There used to be a time when people said the universe was eternal, but that's no longer the case. I mean, astrophysicists and all these brilliant people, no, that's not, it had a beginning. But if it was eternal, then some of the scientists like that, because if it didn't have a beginning, but if it has a beginning, then what caused it? And they certainly don't want to have to say God. You say God, then we go into a different realm, right? So again, it is based on the law of causality, which says that every limited thing is caused by something other than itself. Two forms of this argument. Notice the first form says that the universe needed a cause for its beginning. The second form says it needs a cause for its existence and its continued existence right now. And you'll see the reasoning with all this as we go through this. Why is there something rather than nothing? Deep question. Why is there something rather than nothing? More specifically, why does the universe exist? Where did it come from? What are the probabilities that it came from nothing? I mean, think about that. Just think about that. Nothing. Okay, it's hard for me to imagine nothingness, But what would be the probability the universe just out of nothing came into being? Well, we know that, remember I talked about sense perception that God gives us, feel, taste, smell? Okay, our senses, we know that nothing is not going to produce something, right? Everything has a cause. So the universe, why would we use our imaginations to say the universe came from nothing? Nothingness decided to be universe. It just doesn't make sense, At least that's why I really believe this is all common sense kinds of teaching here. So what are the probabilities? Many people would say it came from the Big Bang. And where did the material and the energy from the Big Bang come from? So let's say, I will tell you that there are theologians and scientists and astrophysicists who believe in a Big Bang, but not in the way that it was originally used, that there was just some big explosion. Because if there's an explosion, where did the stuff come from? Right? Where did the material come from? What made it explode? And where did that stuff come from? There has to be what caused that stuff to be there. So there are many theologians who believe there was a Big Bang, but it was and they said they can pinpoint the universe going all the way back to this little tiny, tiny dot of this incredible energy. And but if that's true, there's nothing that would be inconsistent with that, because God can speak. And here's the issue. It would be a controlled, I don't even like the word bang, because you think about an explosion. And I always say, what is it where do you get design out of an explosion? If you blow up a car, does that car have design then? It doesn't have an explosion. Doesn't cause design. It causes chaos and havoc. So even though they say the universe may have had this big thrust of energy, theologians and scientists now are saying, many of them, that there was this big explosion, but not some disorderly explosion. It was very precise. This. So it's not a problem how if you want to believe in that, that's how God did it. But I'm just saying, to believe that there was just some big bang explosion and all of a sudden all these little technical parts, boop, came together. It doesn't happen in an explosion. If material, energy, and physics have always existed, how do we explain this? I took astronomy and physics, and I am not a mathematical person. I was very fortunate to make an A in the class. Did I understand everything that they were telling me? Absolutely not. I just basically fed them back what they told me, what they meant. And but, physics, the laws of physics, the gravity and all these, there's mathematical figures and all this kind of stuff. How do we send a spaceship out into the outer space? Because they've got all this mathematical precision. So they know that, well, where did that come from? Where did numbers come from? 2 plus 2 equals what? 24. No, 2, 4. Where'd these numbers come from? Oh, they just popped out of nothing. No, we discovered numbers. We discovered numbers, right? Things like this. So they were always just like a triangle. A triangle, where'd that come from? Well, we discovered, we believe that's God created all these things. We discovered a triangle. So again, what we're saying is there's clearly a design. There's information. There's information in the universe. And remember, if there's information, you have to have someone. I got this little computer that I'm using right now. Guess what? This little computer here has been fed information. That's why it functions. Law of physics, who put these laws of physics into place so that you and I aren't floating, or why we still exist on the planet today? Who put these laws of physics? These are very detailed, very, high and, complicated things. I mean, so to believe that they came out of nowhere, even physics, okay? So we understand that certainly there must be a God. We're talking about or arguing for God from creation. What is the cosmological argument? Cosmological is derived from 2 Greek words, the cosmos, the world of the universe. That's what cosmos is. Logos, rational account. What is the reason for the universe? Cosmological argument, okay? The word logos, a rational account. Different versions of this, okay? 2 basic forms. I talked about the horizontal and I talked about the vertical already with you a little bit. The horizontal, notice, reasons back to the cause of the universe, the beginning. Vertical, why are we here? Why are we still existing? Why are the planets moving? Causality is a big deal. The first cause for the originating cause, the latter for the sustaining cause of the universe. So why was it caused? Why does it continue to exist? What's causing it to exist? By the way, I think I quoted yesterday a scripture that says, in him all things consist, that he is the one who created all things. They say, theologians say that little Greek word, calls all things, is like he's the glue of the universe. That if he just lets go, it's gone. So he's controlling everything, the sovereign Lord of the universe. So again, I make this statement. Notice, as people interact with the world around them, remember through sense perception, few people would deny the law of causality, that every effect has a cause. I believe that number would be minuscule. Again, every effect has a cause. I came in this sanctuary. Was this here yesterday morning? No. Okay. Do you think it popped out of nowhere? I think there's a call. Was that TV there? Okay, so everything has a cause. Bryce and his team brought this out this morning before I got here. Had the TV set up for me. There's a cause behind it. See, this is common sense stuff. A cause, causality. And the first lesson I did was principles. First principles, causality is one of them. Cause, effects, okay? Remember I talked about if someone threw a ball through a window, if you didn't see anybody throw the ball, you're just in your house, a baseball or a golf ball ends up in your living room. Are you going to just say, oh, that thing just came out of nowhere? Or it just kind of appeared and broke. No, you realize behind that ball coming through that window, there was a cause, right? Yeah, yeah. Wasn't me. I mean, it might have been Pam, but it could have been me. So, yeah, there's a cause behind everything on the planet. Our senses tell us that. So we're just using common sense here is what I'm trying to say when we come to these understandings. So here's the question, this second point here. Why would we suddenly jettison, throw away, get rid of this law of causality that every effect has a cause while examining the world and the universe? If the law of causality can be applied to everything we know about this world, down to the very smallest of details, why, when examining the cosmos, the universe, would we ever conclude that it came into existence without a cause? So again, the whole issue is, why would we ever say the universe, if everything we know has a cause? Why would we ever say that the universe, no, it didn't have a cause? Let me tell you why I believe. I think there's a couple of reasons. I think somebody really believed it because they were indoctrinated through secularism and humanism, things like that. But most of all, they want to believe it because if you say there was a cause to the universe, that's why Einstein didn't want to have to admit that when he understood the law of relativity, which I don't fully understand all that stuff, but bottom line, he had to admit there was a cause to the universe. Well, if there's a cause to the universe, he must be all-powerful, omniscient, means he's brilliant, knows everything about everything, right? He's omnipresent, he's beyond time, space, all this stuff. Who would that be? Oh, God, okay? So that's why I believe all these brilliant scientists don't want to deal with this, because if you do, by the way, that's why intelligent design has become popular today among these scientists and these physicists and astronomers, because they believe, wait, there's a design to the universe. They may not believe in Christianity, but they definitely believe there is a design, which means there must be intelligent design. They may not call him God, but there's something there that has intelligence. How could nothing create something majestic, complex, marvelous, and breathtaking? How can nothing do this? Every morning it seems like they change the pictures on my computer, the software, Microsoft, whatever's happening, all these beautiful places all over the world. Did that just pop out of nowhere? I don't think so. So here's the argument. Notice again. Here's the argument. This is one of the most basic ones. Everything that had a beginning had a cause. The universe had a beginning. That's demonstrated through science today. Therefore, the universe had a cause. That's the basic argument for believing. And because, again, we have to go back. Well, if it has a cause, it would have to be God because it's so incredible. Premise one, everything that had a beginning had a cause. That's the law of causality, cause and effect, which is the fundamental principle of science. Without the law of causality, science is impossible. Science is looking for, why does this happen? What is the cause of this? Is it Tommy?
I probably missed part of this, and I hear you talking about causality.
Yes.
And I get it. Who came up with that term, causality, and the idea that everything had to have a cause?
I think philosophers. Yeah, there's some of the philosophers. Thomas Aquinas is one that certainly did that. I think Aristotle did that. I have only had one class in philosophy, but I know Aristotle did that. And again, but Thomas Aquinas, whom our seminary really, really pushes, you're going to see his argument for this. I have an argument from Thomas Aquinas on causality. And he's the main one that the seminary really promotes. He was a Catholic theologian, but I think he had it right on a lot of things. In fact, now Francis Bacon, the father of modern science, said, true knowledge is knowledge of causes. In other words, science is a search for causes. That's what scientists do. They try to discover what caused what. So there you have Francis Bacon, Tommy, being the one who's the father of modern science. Notice, if there's one thing we've observed through the universe, it's things don't happen without a cause. I mean, and again, why would you deny that? You're not going to deny that about anything on the planet. When a man is driving down the street, a car never appears in front of a car out of nowhere with no driver, no cause. We know many a police officer has heard, but it heard this. Well, this guy just came out of nowhere. Oh, no, he did not. There's a cause, right? He came from somewhere. And that's what we're saying. In fact, to deny the law of causality is to deny rationality. The very process of rational thinking requires us to put together thoughts, causes, the result in conclusions, effects. Okay? So if anyone ever tells you he doesn't believe in the law of causality, simply ask that person, what caused you to come to that conclusion? So there's no such thing as causality. Okay, something caused you to make that statement, okay? So there's a cause to everything. Would you not agree that if every effect had a cause, the logical inference would be that the universe we live in had a cause? So we're just going back to a basic, simple, common sense understanding of what is real and what happens here. Why would the law of causality not be applied to the creation of the universe? I believe the fundamental reason, again, if we say there's a universe, it's all going to point to God. If you say it had a cause, the universe had a beginning, it all points back to God. Yet many people refuse to believe in God's existence. They want to avoid the conclusion of the cosmological argument. How do they do this? Geisler states this. In order to avoid this conclusion, some people say the universe is eternal. But again, science has already demonstrated that's not true. Okay? Carl Sagan, not a believer, said the cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be. So how does he have that infinite knowledge? You know, guys, listen, brilliant people can make some dumb statements. Do not be intimidated by brilliant book knowledge people. Okay? Just don't let that happen, because now we have ways to answer this objection. Number one, scientific evidence strongly supports the idea the universe had a beginning. The main evidence for the universe having a beginning is the second law of thermodynamics, which says the universe is running out of usable energy. It's running down. Now, if something's running down, it can't be eternal, because it would not exist. You know, I give you an example. If you have a golf cart, you got a battery in the golf cart, it's charged up. You keep running. After about a while, it's going to die. Has to be recharged. The universe, if it's eternal, it's clear. It's running down. It's losing energy. You know, a few billion years, unless the Lord comes and intervenes, it's not going to be here. Tommy? Yes, that's it.
And the sun's been there for a long time. And I don't mean it's been there 200 or 300 years.
Right.
For millions of years.
Yes.
I know a little bit about fire. I know a little bit about burning stuff.
Yeah.
It burns out. But millions of years still burning,
Yeah, well,
it puzzles me.
Well, it wouldn't happen. Well, the thing is, millions of years, I mean, how old is the universe? That's a big question. But the bottom line is, it's burning up now. Slowly but surely, it's burning. So the whole point is, if it was eternal, at the rate it's burning up, no, we wouldn't be here. Okay? It cannot be an eternal universe is what we're stressing, because the whole universe is running down. Notice, what is winding down must have been wound up. Y'all remember when you used to have those watches you wound up? You'd wind the watches up. And after a while, though, you notice the time's not doing very well. It's behind maybe an hour or two. And what you have to realize, I remember I used to have I thought it was so cool, you know, technology. You went from a twisting watch back and forth, to a shaking watch. Remember that? Yeah, you shake the watch, and if you're just wearing it and moving, that's going to keep time. Well, the bottom line is, if you want, you know, so if something is winding down, it had to be wound up. And so that's the whole, there had to be a cause to the universe starting, is what we're emphasizing again. Robert Jastrow, director of NASA's Goddard Institute of Space Studies, said, a sound explanation may exist for the explosive birth of the universe. But if it does, science cannot find out what that explanation is. The scientist's pursuit of the past ends in the moment of creation. So here you got this brilliant scientist saying, well, you know, it must have some kind of beginning, but we can't figure out who did it or what did it or how it came into being. Why not just say maybe there could be a God? Whoa, there's a God, there's accountability. It all goes back to that, I think. So again, but he realizes there must have been a beginning to the universe. So why would intelligent, rational beings ever conclude that the universe sprung forth from nothing when everything else, every single thing on the planet, within reality, has a cause? So why would you even go there? Guys, it takes more faith. That's why Dr. Geisler wrote his book, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, and Frank Turek. He wrote that book because to believe this complex, finely tuned universe came out of nothing, it takes more faith to believe that than to believe there's a God. Yes?
The first time you taught this, I kept thinking about
Climate
climate change.
change.
How does that fit into this?
I have no idea on climate change, and I don't, I'm not a climate denier or a climate change affirmer. I don't know, because I've listened to various, meteorologists who studied weather and all this for hundreds of years and all this stuff, and they say what we're experiencing is normal. So I don't know, but if it is winding down, if it's climate change, I don't know. But I think many people would not say it's man-made. Some might try to say it's man-made, but many say it's not. Notice, I think the many answers of the question, but I believe the root of the answer, why you would not say, if everything else has a cause, why would you say the universe doesn't have a cause? Again, it's all about, it necessitates the additional question, is there a God? Who created the universe, and who is he, etc. In addition, if you believe there's a God, then see, if you say there is a God, you have to say, okay, if there's a God, what happens after I die? If there's a God, is there really a heaven and hell? So people just love to avoid those questions. See? So I think a lot of it is we suppress the truth. Remember the scripture we saw? You suppress the truth. You don't want to deal with the truth. See, that's the issue. And it's really due to our sinful hearts, I would also say. Now, here's another way of saying the outline of the horizontal argument for God's existence. Whatever had a beginning had a beginner or a cause. The universe had a beginning, therefore the universe had a beginner or had a cause. This first premise is based on the fundamental principle of causality. Everything that comes to be had a cause. Nothing comes from nothing. Nothing ever could. Who's that good-looking couple right there? Now, I brought this little golf club. I've shared, Pam and I are trying to learn to play golf. Through the years, I played maybe once a year at a church event. They have them. But that's the extent. I've never had lessons. I did get 3 lessons recently, but the lessons messed me up, I think, more than the video guy that I was watching. Okay, so I'm learning to play golf. And here I got a golf ball up here. And I wonder if I would have the ability. I wonder if this golf ball, if I were to hit this golf ball into that plexiglass, I don't even know if I can hit this golf ball. Number one, it may go various directions, right? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What, is this a golf ball? No. It is a golf ball, but it's a rubber golf ball. You see, you sense that. Your senses are reliable once you investigate, right? Here's what I know about golf thus far. I do know things about golf. The question is, can I do them? No. I know that this golf club needs to, be square when it hits the ball. And I know that you can do a slice by the golf club being a certain way, and I know you can do, what is that other, they call it a draw. I know you can top the ball. I know that you can do a fat shot, which is you hit way behind the ball and have a huge divot, right? And I know you can miss the ball. I know that quite by experience, my sense perceptions. Here's what I'm saying about this golf club. Everything has a cause and effect. Right, it could be a weapon. But if I hit on the toe of this golf club, that ball hits here, it's going to go a certain direction, cause and effect. If I hit way over here, it's going to go another direction. If I hit way down here, hit way up here. If I hit right there in the center and my club is straight, then it's probably going to be a pretty good shot. Cause and effect. That's all we're talking about here. There has to be a cause behind the effect. And one day I'm going to be a very average golfer. That's about all I ever get. But I got to practice enough. Hey, we look like golfers. But by the way, just because we look like golfers doesn't mean we are golfers, does it? So you'd have to see me play and you say, he ain't no golfer. So, but he's a wannabe golfer, okay? So that's what I'm talking about there now. Let me go to, all this is to reemphasize that every effect, there's a cause. This is true throughout our existence on the planet. This is the first principle. It does not vary. It is rather a constant. Thus, the horizontal cosmological argument for God, being the cause behind the universe, is rational, it is logical, it's consistent with everything we know through our sense perception and our everyday life. Listen, you get up and you do certain things. You realize there's an effect. If you stay in the bed, you're going to stay in the bed. Why? Why'd you stay in the bed? There's a cause. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you didn't have an appointment. There's a cause behind everything we do. We set the shower a certain temperature, and it's a cause and effect. If we set it too much this way, it's going to be too hot. The other way, too cold. Cause and effect. There's everything about life. You come to a stoplight. If the light turns red, are you going to run through that light? Or are you going to stop? Should you stop or not? Well, there's no truth or there's no reality like some of these people want to tell you. Just go ahead and try driving through that stoplight when cars are going through. You're going to be, you could end up dead, right? So we do believe there's truth, and we do believe there's causes behind all these things that take place. So the very first verse of the Bible says, notice, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's where they came from. The Bible never by the way, did you know the Bible never defends God's existence? Never. It assumes it. Why? Because most common sense people intuitively know there's a God. Behind our awesome and marvelous cosmos is an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, infinite, and eternal God. That's the bottom line. The atheist and the agnostic often looks at the cosmological argument and pipes back with this question: okay, if everything has a cause, who calls God? Now that's where philosophers come in. That's where Thomas Aquinas comes in. If everything has a beginning, who calls God? The law of causality in the cosmological argument does not say necessarily that everything has a cause. It says every effect has a cause. God is not a cause. In effect, if I come over there and throw that ball at your head, you'll feel a little rubber. That's the effect. When I hit that golf ball, the effect is where it goes. If I throw a ball through a window, that's an effect. If I'm sitting in my house, I may not have seen the cause, but even if I didn't see someone throw it through the window, I know something caused that to come through the window. Okay, so that the effect, there has to be a cause. So who calls God? No, the cosmological argument does not say it says every effect has a cause, not everything has a cause, which is only God. So we call him the uncaused cause. And I'll demonstrate this, okay? Well, look at this. The uncaused cause. Or we call it the first cause. Okay? So notice the last statement again. The cosmological argument does not say that everything has a cause, but only every effect has a cause. God is not in effect. God is our eternal creator. Okay? So the vertical argument focuses on, that is, the being of the universe instead of the beginning of the universe. Geisler writes, the argument answers the old age question. Why is there something rather than nothing right now? In other words, what is causing the universe to exist currently? The argument can be stated in different ways. Here it is. This is a little more, this gets a little more philosophical and into logic. I have not had a class in logic, but I'm going to take logic, and I'm also going to take several classes in Thomas Aquinas' philosophy, because I think he makes so much sense. You'll see him a little later. Every contingent, dependent being has a cause right now. The whole universe is contingent right now. Therefore, the whole physical universe has a cause right now. It's dependent on something for it to be happening. I mean, what is causing our planet to be moving right now? I mean, you realize, what are we moving at? I think the planet turns about 1,000 miles an hour, something like that. And why is it rotating? Why is it on its precise orbit? What is causing all this stuff to happen? And again, it's dependent upon something. I mean, why doesn't the moon just kind of take off, as someone would say, I'm going to go off about 25 degrees tomorrow? If it did that, you and I wouldn't be here. Okay, so why is the sun exactly where it is right now? I mean, why are these things happening? Because there's a cause behind these things. I'm a dependent being. My present existence is dependent on my heart beating, my ability to breathe in oxygen, my organs functioning correctly, and so on. Going back further, my present existence is dependent on my parents conceiving through an act of intimacy. Once born, I was dependent upon their constant care for my further existence. I'm a dependent being. My existence also is dependent upon living on a planet that provides what? The right conditions, temperature, oxygen, food, all this kind of water, all these things. Why are they here? What causes them to be right here, right now? You know. And again, I'm a dependent being on the environment. Somebody caused that environment. Why is it so precise? Now, I'll go ahead and jump into this right now, because this might be a good place to say it. Y'all remember the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Okay. The first porridge was what? The second porridge was? The last porridge was? Just right. Well, here's the issue. They call it the Goldilocks principle. Our universe is just right. But not only is it just right for life to exist, it is just right with fine-tuning precision on a razor's edge, that if there was the slightest degree of the changes of all what they call these constants always happening, just a slight degree, we wouldn't be here. Understand what I'm saying? So again, why all these things existing is what we're talking about here on God's existence. Now, notice they could cease to exist, but something is controlling their existence, which allows me to exist. The rational conclusion is that the reason for their continued existence, as well as my existence, is that there's a cause for their existence and continued existence. The cause would have to be intelligent. What's causing all these dimensions and this oxygen level and this big planet rotating and all these planets staying in position? Has to be intelligent, all-powerful, omnipresent, present everywhere. That kind of sounds like God. Okay? So we believe it. That's why a theist is someone who believes in God. We're theists. Another way, every part of the universe needs a cause. The whole, sum of the parts. The whole is the sum of the parts. Therefore, the whole universe needs a cause. There's lots of parts in the universe. And again, take the sun out, we're in trouble. Right? Take Jupiter out, we're in trouble. Take oxygen out, we're in trouble. All these things. This is a very simple mousetrap. This is called irreducible complexity, is what they taught us. This is a little simple mousetrap. I'm sure y'all have used mousetraps maybe in catching mice or catching rats or whatever. You put the bait in there. It's very simple, but if you take one part out, it will not function. irreducible complexity. This is very simple, but now think how complex the universe is. Okay, somebody designed this little mousetrap as simple as it is. But you take one part out, it will not, right, okay. By the way, if anybody ever had you started to try to do something and set the thing and it popped you on the, I wouldn't want that. So there it is. Very simple, just a few parts. Remove one law of physics in the universe. As we know it, it will cease to exist. Remove the moon or the sun, and all life on earth will cease to exist. Why do the planets move and rotate with precision? There's a cause. Tim?
I think in Job it says that God would withhold his breath for even a second. All mankind would perish.
Yeah, if Job was to withhold his breath for a second, I can tell you this, if we withheld just one part of his power, we would not be here. Something or someone is causing this action to take place. Something is sustaining their movement, place within the universe. And theists believe that this is someone as God. Something exists, I do, but nothing cannot cause something. Therefore, an eternal necessary being exists. Again, we're getting into philosophy and logic here a little bit. But again, you can kind of, something exists. Okay, I exist. Okay. But nothing cannot cause something. I didn't pop out of nowhere. Either did the building or the chairs or that guitar or whatever. Therefore, an eternal necessary being exists when you look at the universe, this cosmological argument for the universe. Again, if this were all true, the question is, who then is the cause of God? Valid question. That is a good question. Who caused God? The theist answers, no one caused God. He is the uncaused cause. He didn't need a cause because he's eternal. He's always existed. Now watch this. Though this is a faith answer, it is a rational answer. There must be a first cause that is uncaused, that has eternally existed. It is not rational to believe that in regress of infinite causes, you just can't keep going back into infinity. There has to be something that caused what we have today. So that's the argument. Again, cause, effects, etc. But God is the uncaused cause. You have to rationalize. There must be a first cause. Okay? I mean, we know this. And here's the illustration I gave earlier. We could set dominoes up, around the sanctuary or whatever. And if we see these things falling up in line, we're going to say, hey, somebody must have pushed the first one. There had to be a first cause for all these others to come down. Well, when we look at the universe and its complexity, its fine-tuning and how it works and the motions and all this stuff, moving parts and all the parts and to get to that physics just has to have some cause. I mean, to believe that, so there's an uncaused cause who would have to be omnipotent, all-powerful, and all these kind of things. Though we may not understand or comprehend how God can have no beginning or end, our sense experiences in the world confirm there's an efficient cause. Again, we may not understand how God's eternal and timeless. I was going to take a class in seminary on eternity and time and things like this. And I read a couple of books and I dropped the class. I said, man, that's going to mess my GPA up. I don't think I can understand all this stuff right away. So I would not take the risk. I said, I'll take it later, but I'm not going to take it for a grade. Okay. So, but how can we understand? We're finite beings. We had a beginning, right? We have an ending. God did not. I know we can't understand that. I mean, I don't think anybody can comprehend that except the fact we can use our reasoning, our sense perception, and life in general all over the planet, and we know that everything has a cause. There must be a first cause. There must be a first cause. And if he has all these attributes that we see, and it's so complex and so designed, and I guess I'd call him God. Okay, the first cause. That's the only rational thing that we can come with. Again, who created God? Nobody created him. He's eternally existent. Notice again, it takes an immense imagination. I think this is so true. to believe the universe didn't have a beginning. When you look at all these things together, to believe the universe came out of nothing, you've got to really use your imagination, don't you? You know what the newest idea is? There's multi-universes. Multi-universe. That there's all these multiple universes out there. And, yes. Oh,
I would ask a question.
Yeah.
Isn't that a fact?
multi-universes? No, that is definitely not proven. There's the universe, there's multiple planets, these galaxies, but not a totally different universe. Yeah.
A universe meaning something like the sun, the moon, and all that?
Yeah, even all the universe that we see right now that we experience with our telescopes. So they said, well, there's multiple universes like the Milky Way and all these, all over the place in different dimensions or whatever, and somehow one of these things got life. Here's the problem. Even if you believe there's multiple universes, I don't have a problem with that. God's a big God. Where did the stuff come from? Where did the first universe come from? So you're still dealing with the fact that there has to be a first cause. And so even if you say there's multiple universes, you still have to go back and say, wait a minute, what caused the multiple universes? Where did that stuff come from? So you're kind of back to the very beginning question. There has to be a first cause is what I'm saying. So, though our senses reveal that everything in the world had a beginning, those who oppose this belief would tell us that we must deny the reality of everything we know about things and objects coming into existence. If we just believe this universe popped out of nowhere, what they're asking us to do, they're really asking us not to be logical. Oh, you use logic and reason and you know causes about everything. Yeah, well, when it comes to the universe, you can't believe that. Why can't I believe it? It's precise, it's fine-tuned, it's complex, it's powerful. It gives us. Why can't I believe that? Well, because if you believe that, you might have to believe in God. Okay, so that's why some of the scientists and atheists don't want to go there and believe that. They would have us understand that the universe requires that we suspend what we know about its existence and believe that somehow, in some way that defies reason and logic, the universe is somehow. It's the exception to the rule. All these rules and all these first principles and everything that we know through our senses and effects and causes. When it comes to the universe, no, just suspend your mind. Believe it popped out of nowhere, out of nothing. I don't think so. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? I think it's really a critical question here. Notice this is a huge leap of faith. A huge leap of faith because they're telling you to, throw out every other thing. Notice this is a huge proposition, not a logical or reasonable proposition from everything we know in the world that we experience today. Every cause and effect. Okay, reality. Again, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. So true. So true. Okay? Concerning this conclusion, some will make the accusation that an uncaused cause God is a faith conclusion, not based on reality. The theists will, in fact, agree. It is a faith conclusion, but it's a rational, logical conclusion because it's based on the reality of the world that I currently live in and know everything about as far as how life is today, okay? So yes, it is a faith commitment. We have to take a step, yes, but we don't take a huge leap out into the dark to believe in God. No, that's not the case. So we're not doing that. Since what we know and experience through reality, through our sense perception, our belief in God's existence is both rational, logical, seems to be the only probable answer to the existence of our universe and life as we know it, unless you choose to believe that what exists came forth from nothing. This conclusion would not be rational, true. It would be extraordinary speculation. Speculation. It would be based on enormous faith because you would be ignoring the principles you apply when it comes to knowing everything else that you have come to know about truth and reality, these first principles and sense perception. Name one thing that comes into existence from nothing, and then perhaps we can give atheism consideration. Well, scientists have It's something to do with quantum physics, and that's where I kind of got lost in some of this stuff. They have been able to do this experiment where some kind of particles pop out of nowhere, okay? So they say, see? But here's the issue. They didn't pop out of nowhere. They created this experiment for these things to happen. If it wasn't for them orchestrating certain things, see? And so it really doesn't have any good conclusion when you look at it carefully, and there's brilliant people who can explain that, and I'm not one of those guys. So reality confirms that nothing produces nothing. God does exist. Okay, let's take about a 10-minute break, and we'll get into Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas is a little complex, but I think you're going to like him because he's common sense. Everything we're talking about now is Thomas Aquinas, really. Okay, so take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll finish it up, okay? Yes?
One of the things that I was thinking about when you were talking about this
Yeah?
was lightning.
Lightning, yes.
They call it in your insurance policy, some of them.
An act of God?
An act of God. So,
Yeah.
but lightning
Oh, thank you.
is caused by negative and positive charges. It can go from cloud to cloud. It can come from the earth up and from the cloud down. And then from lightning, you can get fire.
Yeah.
There's been fields that
Oh, yeah.
and then you get carbon.
All I can tell you, lightning is a must on the planet, and I'll show you that. I don't understand lightning, but it is a must to have
But
lightning.
yeah, it's
And
a negative
earthquakes.
Yeah, it's a negative.
Earthquakes have a very positive effect on our planet too, believe it or not. I'll talk about that later.
But
Okay.
I thought of insurance companies and.
Oh, yeah, act of God, act of God. Oh, yeah, act of God. Yes, he does get a bad rap. No, somebody found me the ball. They gave it to me. Yeah, yeah, they got it for me. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Just a quick silly comment.
No, nothing silly.
To add to your three bear story. The baby bear and Papa Bear came downstairs and
Okay, everybody, if you can come back in here, we'll get started. The good news is I've looked at my PowerPoint slides. Not too many more, not too many more. We're going to get through this. Hallelujah. It doesn't matter, really. Okay, good news, I don't have too many more slides. You know, I've never taught this stuff, until now. So I really didn't know how long it would take to teach it. So that's, so you're kind of my guinea pigs for me to teach it to you guys. So, but it's not too much longer. I looked at the PowerPoint slides. Thomas Aquinas, between 1224, 74, was when he lived, was a theologian, philosopher, consummate apologist of the late medieval church. He was Roman Catholic. He was a Christian. Yeah, but he certainly would have been into Catholicism as a professor, priest, but, you can still have bad theology and be a believer. Don't assume that everybody who's Catholic doesn't know the Lord because they have some bad belief systems. But he was Summa Theologica, in which his 5 ways prove God's existence. We're just going to look at 3 of them. Now, once we get through his little 5 ways or 3 ways, and this is where I want to really delve in and learn more Thomas Aquinas, because he really does make sense to me. And from a philosophical standpoint, he's one of the few that I can understand. One of the problems with reading philosophy and trying to understand some of this stuff is the terms they use, especially way back then, in the 1200s. I mean, they use words that we don't use today. And so that makes it a little complicated. But I read a book, Robert O'Donnell, referring to Thomas' 5 ways, writes, remember that he starts with the fact that all of our knowledge originates in sense experiences. See, this is why we started all the way back when, talking about first principles, our sense experiences. Thomas Aquinas originates and believes that all knowledge originates in sense experiences, and with the further fact that it is a natural function of the human mind to link effects which it encounters in nature to their causes. So he says we naturally, if we see an effect, if for some reason that light up there fell, came loose, you and I would say something caused that. Either the bolts are loose or something caused that to happen, okay? So that's what he's saying there. Based upon these 2 principles, he writes 5 ways for God's existence. This is just a little part of some of his huge writings, okay? 5 ways for God's existence. The first, this is Thomas Aquinas speaking, okay? This is his writing. The first and more manifest way is the argument from motion. It is certain and evident to our senses that in the world some things are in motion. Now, whatever is in motion is put in motion by another. For nothing can be in motion except it is in its potentiality towards which is in motion, that is. In other words, something caused it to happen, whereas a thing moves inasmuch as it is an act. For motion is nothing more than the reduction of something from potentiality to actuality. Okay, I could, the little ball. We got the little ball, and if I throw it, it's in motion. Whether it came in the air and it's bouncing, it's in motion. Okay, we know if it's in motion, something caused that. I did. I threw it up, right? So he said everything we see in motion, there has to be something behind that. There has to be a cause going from, it has the potential to go up, but something actually caused it to happen, actuality. But then he says, and again, I'm not saying I understand all of Thomas Aquinas, that's why I want to take classes in him. But nothing can be reduced from potentiality to actuality except by something in a state of actuality. That is, this thing could move, but something that really exists is going to have to move it. If I move this 2 inches, its movement, something had to exist for that thing to move, and that was me. Okay? Thus, that which is actually hot as fire makes wood, it's potentially hot to be actually hot, and thereby moves and changes it. In other words, I got a pile of wood, maybe you have a fireplace, and it's got the potential to be hot, but it's not going to actually be hot unless something, right, touches it with a match, right? And so, now it is not possible that the thing should be at once in actuality and potentiality in the same respect, but only in different respects, okay? You have these two different things, but something's going to have to cause this thing. All right, they're different things that would cause one another to happen to be actuality. For what is actually hot cannot simultaneously be potentially hot. Okay, I got a stove in my house. It can't be potentially hot and hot at the same time. It's one or the other, right? Yeah, it's either hot or cold, right? But it is simultaneously potentially cold. It is therefore impossible that in the same respect and in the same way a thing should be both mover and moved. If I move this table, it didn't move itself. I did it, okay? Therefore, whatever is in motion must be put in motion by another. If that by which is put in motion be itself put in motion, then this also must needs to be put in motion by another, and that by another, etc. But this cannot go on unto infinity. In other words, there has to be, remember the cause of the dominoes moving. This one's moving, something had to put them into motion is what he's saying. And consequently, he says, and no mover, seeing that subsequent movers move only inasmuch as they are put in motion by the first mover, as a staff moves only because it's put in motion by the hand. If I have a cane, if I move it, there's something behind its moving. Okay? A staff. Therefore, it is necessary to arrive at a first mover. If something's moving, there has to be something that moved that, a first mover. Okay? Is what he's saying. Put in motion by no other, and this has to be God. And I think you'll understand this the more we go through this. In essence, Thomas is saying that everything that moves, that has motion or experiences change, has a cause behind the movement and change. This is causality again. For it does not move or change by itself. We observe things in the world move. Now, whatever moves is by another, for nothing can move itself. This is true of all motion in the past as well as the present. Logic and reason tell us that there had to be a first mover. So you look at the cosmological argument about the universe. It's moving, it's changing, leaves change, everything's changing. There's movement to all this stuff in the universe. Something must have put this into motion is what he is saying. Now, I'd give a very simple example here. Bowling. When I was in college and trying to get my GPA up, and I took a bowling class. I took a bowling class. I also took a ceramic class, by the way. But you've heard about that. But the bowling class, I took bowling. I also took tennis. Trying to get my GPA. You were allowed to take it as an elective. Okay, I'll take that. But in bowling, so I'm not a good bowler, but I took a bowling class and it was fun and we did that. But the bottom line is, if you saw that bowling ball going down there and the person was not in view, but you saw the bowling ball, you would say, somebody moved that ball. Somebody's behind that. There's a cause behind that, causality. Something's moving that ball, right? So it just happened. Okay, it's moving. So motion implies something. There's a mover behind the motion.
So when you talk about a
Yep.
person taking a step,
Yeah.
the person is the cause.
Yes, that's right. We're the cause. Of course, if we keep going back, it's God causing us to live and move and breathe and all that. But yeah, there's a cause for me to move my hand, for you to nod your head. Yeah, you're doing that. You're causing yourself. There's a cause behind every movement, is what we're saying. As we examine and look at the universe with all its vastness, we see that along with its objects, it's moving and changing. The universe is rapidly expanding. Planets are rotating, including the planet Earth. Why is it moving? Why does it spin? Why does it orbit around the sun? We know that nothing that moves is self-moved. Now, let's go back to this again in our world, our world we live in. There's everything we know in the world. You go to China, you go to Russia, something moves, you're going to come and say, something moved it. Logic, reason, common sense. I just like to use common sense. I think it's common sense. So that's why I like Thomas Aquinas, because I think it's common sense. If something is moving, we know that there's a cause behind its movement. It would take a powerful something or someone to move and keep the planets and other materials that make up the universe in motion. Who might that be? Oh, maybe God. Maybe God. According to astrophysicists, our universe is expanding. It is in motion. As I type this paper, is what I wrote in my paper. Our Earth is presently rotating on its axis. And notice approximately 1,000 miles per hour. Our Earth's orbital speed is around the sun is 60,000 miles per hour. Whoa. For it to be moving at all requires that something or someone had to initiate the movement at some beginning point. Who would have the power, the ability, the know-how to do it? Precisely, right? Who could do this with precision and fine-tuning? Well, we say that is God. The only one conceivable who's powerful enough to initiate this, again, a being who's omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. That was the first way, movement. Okay, something's moving, there's a cause. The second way, Thomas says, is the nature of efficient cause. It all kind of deals with causality and design, but in the world of sense, we find there's an order of efficient causes. There is no case known, neither is it indeed possible, in which a thing is found to be the efficient cause of itself. For so it would be prior to itself, which is impossible. In other words, that pew sitting there, it didn't just, pop out, decide to be a pew. Something had to cause that efficiently for that to happen. See, now in efficient causes, it is not possible to go into infinity, because in all efficient causes following in order, the first is the cause of the intermediate cause. The intermediate is the cause of the ultimate cause, whether the intermediate cause be several or only one. I know that's a lot of stuff. And I don't know if this is the right illustration. I'm trying to remember back in my class, he talked about a train. You look at the caboose, it's moving, the next car, the next car, the next car, the next car. Something, though, has to be causing all those cars to move. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, all the way to the front, you're going to find the first cause, which is an engine, right? That some man is causing those movements, the movement of the other train. So, in other words, it's going to stop somewhere. Well, with a train, it stops at the engine. He says, now, to take away the cause is to take away the effect. If there's no cause, this phone, if it were to drop on the floor, there was a cause. If it, take away the effect, there's no cause, right? Therefore, if there be no cause among efficient causes, there would be no ultimate nor any intermediate cause. But if in efficient causes it is possible to go on to affinity, there will be no first efficient cause. And you see how this is all interweaving with some of the stuff we've talked about. Neither will there be an ultimate effect, nor an intermediate efficient causes, all of which is plainly false. Therefore, it is necessary to admit a first efficient cause to which everyone gives the name God. Okay? In other words, he's saying again, there has to be a first cause to all that has happened, to the cosmological argument for the universe to exist and move and function and precision and fine-tuning. There has to be. It just can't be caused this into infinity. Somebody, of course, that someone, we believe, is God who did this. That's where we're going. So he says, just as our senses understand and perceive that motion or change has a cause behind their movement, our senses tell us that we look at things and objects within our world, there's an efficient cause behind each one. That's my words, okay? So we know that. We know movement, there's a cause. An efficient cause can either be something or someone, but behind the existence of a thing or an object, there is the agent by which an effect is produced. Let me give an example of that you don't have to have intelligence to have some causes. Let's say you had a door handle, and it used to work real good, put the key in, no problems, but after a while it gets a little rusty, and there's no intelligence causing that per se, but it's getting rusty or whatever. But nevertheless, there's a cause. It was the rain or the water or the oldness of the mechanism or whatever. It doesn't function anymore. There's a cause. There's a cause behind every single effect. But within our world, we see there has to be some intelligence because of how complex and the laws of physics and things of this nature, so you understand that. We understand that things that exist have someone or something behind their being a thing in existence. We know that things do not come into existence on their own. Things do not create themselves. That would be illogical. When we look at an automobile or an iPhone or a television or a computer or a building, our senses and experiences, right, tell us they did not come into existence on their own. There was something or someone behind their existence. So there's a phone. An iPhone. I mean, for anybody to believe that this popped out of nowhere, when you look at the complexity of an iPhone and how it works and how it functions and all the little things that it does, I mean, who in the world would say that this came out of nowhere? I mean, there has to be someone who designed this, and again, it's kind of design and yet efficient causes. There's a cause behind this phone working. If I push that button on and say, hey, Pam, she answers the phone. There's a cause behind that, right? There's efficient causes. What about this play set, this playground? You can look at that. Well, kids get on it, they play, and they have fun. They do all these things. Well, there's an efficient reason why these things work, because someone designed it, and it just didn't pop out of the ground. Oh, there's a playground. No, there's an efficient cause to that. What about a bicycle? I mean, the gears are working. This kind of gets into the teleological argument of design also. But nevertheless, the efficient cause is a cause for the wheels, where they're placed, where they turn, the seat, all these things to function rightly. An automobile, man, look at that. I don't have a car like that. Do you, Tim? I mean, but you look at that car. Well, there's an efficient cause for that car existing, right? Causes. Thus, everything that exists has a beginning or a cause. Astronomers have demonstrated that the universe is expanding, it's moving, there's motion, that it had a beginning. Notice, if the universe had a beginning, it had to have a beginner, it had to have a first cause. Okay, this is Thomas Aquinas stuff, that really is I think, again, it's just common sense. I know it's a little complicated, but it's common sense stuff. So we look at the universe, life, beings, we realize that. So the last statement, so the question would be posed, who would have the knowledge necessary, the power, and imagination? Guys, I looked up how many bird species there were the other day. How many bird species are there? Do y'all know? When I was doing this presentation, teaching last time, I think I looked, if I remember correctly, like 10,000 species. I've got little titmouses, cardinals, crows, woodpeckers, downings, Carolina wrens, all these little species of birds. And they're just so incredible. Incredible. Imagination. Can you imagine Jesus says, I go to prepare a place for you. Whoa. What's it going to be like? Yeah, eyes not seen, ears not heard, neither has it entered the heart of man the things that God has prepared for those that love him. But imagination, think about all the fish, think about the water, the universe, the stream, all these things. It's the color of the leaves. I mean, that's why I thank God every day. And when I started studying this stuff, I said, Lord, I thank you that I can see, hear, smell, taste, feel, touch. Thank you for colors, that I can see colors, right? So, the fifth way, this is the last one, then it gets easy, and I just got a couple more slides. This is a pretty good one too. Now, so it all deals with causality, but he's just given examples of a causality. The fifth way he gives, for the reason we know God exists, is taken from the governance of the world. We see that things which lack intelligence, such as natural bodies, act for an end. And this is evident from their acting always or nearly always in the same way, so to obtain the best result. Hence it is plainly that not fortuitously but designedly do they achieve their end. Now, you'll understand this. This isn't hard. It's hard reading this, but you'll understand this. Now, whatever lacks intelligence cannot move towards an end unless it is directed by some being endowed with knowledge and intelligence as the arrow is shot to its mark by the archer. Therefore, some intelligent being exists by whom all natural things that don't have intelligence are directed to their end, and this being we believe to be God. The essence of this argument is called final causality. Not just causality, final causality. That is, when you look at at things in the world that lack a mind or intelligence, they are directed towards a purpose, towards a final goal. They seem to be designed in such a way that they will fulfill that which for they are designed. But for something to be designed in such a way to fulfill an end or a purpose, this would indicate there's intelligence behind the design, something or someone is causing the thing to reach its final goal. Thomas gives the analogy of the archer shooting an arrow at the target, okay? Here it is. I'm not an archer. As a kid, I had a bow. Let's say I put a target over there. Let's say I'm a pretty good, what would I call that? Pretty good archer. If I pull that back and I aim that, now does the arrow have a mind? Okay. But if it ends up hitting the target, okay, something moved it to its purpose, and its design was to hit a target. Someone with intelligence caused that to happen. There's other illustration. Here's the issue. Even if you saw an arrow flying through the sanctuary, and there's a target down there, but you didn't see who shot it, you would know that wherever it ends up, that someone designed that arrow to go to that place, right? Okay, so that's kind of his argument, and you'll understand this more so with the next illustration that I give. Again, there it is, so very clearly. It's that even though it doesn't have a mind or intelligence, that thing moving has been designed by somebody to go that direction, the arrow. But then we go to an acorn. An acorn. By the way, would you ever look at an acorn, and if you never knew that about acorns, it's going to be an oak tree, right? Okay, so you look at an acorn, there's something has designed that acorn within the mechanisms and the information instilled within the acorn to reach its final end. And what is that final end? I'll show you this right here, beautiful oak trees. Again, that little acorn, no intelligence within the acorn, but there's somebody put information within the cells, whatever you call. I don't know a lot about plants and acorns and stuff, but the bottom line is somebody programmed that little guy that he's going to turn into an oak tree. I never saw an apple until I went to Missouri, an apple tree. I saw all kinds of orange trees. It's the strangest thing for me to look at an apple hanging off a tree because I'd never seen that. But you take that little seed. Within that little tiny seed, something programmed that little thing to reach an end, which is an apple. Same thing with corn. I never saw cornfields. Somebody took that little kernel of corn, right? That little tiny thing, and put information in that thing where it's going to reach its final goal. Okay? So that is his argument, the fifth way that we're finishing up on here. Notice, as we look at and examine our universe, is it not reasonable to conclude that even if we do not understand or comprehend its intricacies, its vastness, or the complexity of its design, that we know enough through our sense perception that the information that we receive and confirm through our senses, the reality of living in the world, that it could not have come into being on its own? That's what Thomas is saying. In other words, does not our experience and knowledge of the universe force us to conclude that something other than nothing created this world, the cosmos, and that reason, logic, common sense will conclude that this something must be called God. I mean, to say that it did not happen, I mean, common sense would have to say yes to that or no, that it came out of nothing, okay? So that, my dear friends, is the cosmological argument for God. And it's a little more complex, but I like this one that he deals with, this fifth argument, that there is, when you see something that has been designed for an end, it didn't just happen. Something made that happen. Who is that someone who can do that? All powerful has to be God. So when we look at the universe, the cosmos, the beginning of the universe, the existence of the current universe, the movement of the universe, all the causes of things moving, logic, reason, may I dare say common sense, there must be a God. That's why I believe the Bible says the fool has said in his heart there is no God. So guys, that's it. That's all. And by the way, you can watch any of I got these online now. This one's going to be uploaded, I don't know, maybe tomorrow. So all these, if you missed one of these lectures or whatever, they're online. And again, guys, I'm not the expert on all this stuff. I want to stress that. You know, Beth, who makes straight A's in class, and she's in her master's program. She's had many more classes in the MDiv program. She says what I'm explaining is what her professors are explaining, so correctly. So she says I'm in sync there. But here's what I would tell you: I'm just your average Joe, really. I mean, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a physicist. I'm not any of these people. And I'm telling you, there's brilliant people who understand this stuff backwards and forwards. And I'm just saying, all I'm doing is giving you an introduction.
You know what God says about the wisdom of man.
Yeah, the wisdom of man, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, the wisdom of man is foolishness to God, right? Yeah. And I think he's talking about the people who think they're so smart without God, But I want to say thank you guys for coming. I hope it's been helpful. And if y'all want to, I will have all this information and more in my paper. It's probably going to be a little over 100 pages. So I'll have that, the next week or two, I can have that available. And what I'll do is I'll have Renell get those ran off and have those maybe at a welcome center or something like that. And you can pick those up. But all this stuff and more, I couldn't go through everything in my paper, but I tried to pull out the pieces that I think explains everything. So, but that'll be available for you. And then I give some complex things, but then I try to explain it. So again, I'm not saying that I understand it all, but I think I got a fairly good grasp of what they're saying, and it makes sense to me. And you know what this has done? When I took the astronomy and physics class, of course, I've always believed in God, and even as a lost person, I believed in God. I believed in God as a lost person. I knew that I wasn't right with God, but when I learned this stuff and I took the astronomy class and realized how complex the universe was, I said, my gosh, I knew God's big, and I know His grand design is incredible. But gosh, it just enlarges my understanding of God. And man, He's just a big, the fine tuning of this universe and all this stuff. Oh my goodness, woo! But thank you. That concludes it. And I don't know if you're going to have to fill out the evaluation form or not.
We have lunch.
Lunch? I don't know if my black eyed peas on my pots. I told Pam to cook me some black eyed peas. That's what I want to have.